Oh, now we should.
I had a dream. I had a dream. What? No, you can always ask them. You don't have to just wait until someone offers. I had a dream. It was a really weird dream because it started in an apartment. I was with the kids. I was with the kids and their mother. And I don't know, but whoa, I remember elements of the dream as I'm telling them to you. Like there was Botox involved. That was very weird.
Oh.
I was in an apartment with the kids and their mom, but it wasn't the house. Like it was a different apartment, and I don't know whose apartment it was, and it had many rooms. So I think the assumption was that we had gone somewhere on a trip. Is it safe?
1 second.
1 second, and I was supposed to like take care of them, but then all of a sudden people showed up at their house with their kids, like people I didn't know and kids I didn't know, and there were like many children, and our children were kind of lost among the children, and I was supposed to buy oranges, but I couldn't find for her to give me money, and I couldn't find my shoes, and I was in the very, very back room, and she was injecting Botox or something like that. I'm not sure, but then so that was one section of the dream. And the grandparents were there as well, and I was like, where are the kids, and why are they, like it's winter, why are they dressed in shorts and t-shirts? And then I started talking in Romanian to other kids that were there, who I didn't know, and their parents were all over the place, and I was sleepy, and then all of a sudden I was sleeping in another room and I couldn't wake up. This is a recurring element, like you can't keep your eyes open, and I'm really, like, you know, we were talking about the fact that I used to have the dreams with the fact that I couldn't move my leg. That was there as well. So I think my subconscious is really, 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 really eager for me to discover something, and I don't know what the fuck it wants. And I'm like, I'm trying, but I can't figure it out. And then, get this is a new element. I was in a bed, and I was in the said apartment, and I was trying to wake up so I can go see what the kids are doing, because I was supposed to either buy oranges or take them swimming or both, like, I don't know, make them happy. Is that what orange meant? Happiness and jolliness and joyfulness. I have to check the symbol. I'll check the symbol in a second. And
Christmas for us.
And then the window was open and a cat comes in. And I'm like, a cat? A cat's coming in, and then another cat, and another cat, and there are like 5 or 6 or 7 cats, and most of them, remember that picture of that cat I showed you, and the eyes were all over the place? These cats were kind of like this, like they looked a bit, they weren't like, I wasn't like, kitty's cute, it was dodgy cats, you know, I didn't know what they wanted. They were all kind of coming towards the bed, and I couldn't move because I couldn't really wake up. And then one of the cat bit one of my fingers, really, and I could feel the pressure quite hard. And I think it was just after that I woke up. So one of the first things I checked was, what does it mean when a cat bites you in your dream? And you know, apart from the fact, apparently it's an invitation to embrace your more, discover, integrate your more feminine energies and blah blah blah. Or that you're mistrustful of someone, but I don't particularly feel that that's the case with me, because I don't really feel like anyone in my immediate vicinity is going to stab me in the back or anything. And I like one of the last interpretations, because it makes me sound like I'm developing a superpower, is that apparently I need to integrate my psychic abilities. Yeah, okay, the most plausible would probably be the whole integrating feminine traits. I don't know, like, I'm already taking care of kids and I love them, and I'm taking care of plants and I love them. Like, what more does it want from me? Like, what, you know, maybe my brain is trying to tell me I need to have sex.
That's integration.
I don't know, that was my dream. Let me tell you the boy's dream. The boy's dream. He said, and this was interesting, because it's completely different from the series of dreams that he's had up until now. So, you know, when I told him to tell his subconscious to give him a 2-week break, I think it listened. We'll get back to that. like, the boy's not seen Karate Kid, but he said he dreamt that he was in a room and an old man came in and started giving him chores. And I'm like, I'm like, what sort of chores? And he's like, I don't know, mopping the floor and sweeping and doing the laundry. And I was like, did it tell you to paint the fence? So I told him I'd look into it and stuff like that. But yeah, it was very reminiscent of Karate Kid, which I think he didn't see. He didn't mention anything of the sort. He didn't seem to be aware of that the narrative's quite a common one, and to kind of conjure it up. So I think that obviously I feel that his subconscious is trying to train him into be like diligent and dedicated through repetition of a menial sort of thing, and it might have something to do with the fact that I've been trying to teach him how to tie his shoelaces, and he's been very resistant to that. I'm having a Kit Kat and a coffee break. Hold on. Alright, now I'm gonna go through the dog dreams, I guess, because that's really what I really want to get to, and maybe because I had my own weird dreams tonight, and I feel more in a like dreamy, sort of wavy, hazy state of mind. I feel like I'm more in, like we should dig. I'm not as rushed to do this video as I was yesterday. Yeah, we tried to film this video yesterday, and this is never gonna work. The boy had a nosebleed and he woke me up at like half 3. And he kept me up for a while, and I told him he could sleep with me, but when he sleeps with me, he snores, and then I was like, okay, fine, I'll go change his sheets, because of course it's just too fabulous to sleep in bloody sheets. And by the time that happened, I was like, oh, I'll just go knit. And then I knitted until like 6. And then there was no point in going back to bed, because I would have normally woken up at half 6. So I was like, well, I'll do some chores and then quickly do that video and then take a nap. And then it turned out terrible. Like a mystery phone that we didn't know existed in the kitchen started ringing over there. We're like, what the hell is it? And then I had no makeup on, so I didn't particularly like that. And my hair wasn't really nice. And Raveca was still asleep. Well, she's still asleep now. but now I don't mind. Yeah, I know, I understand. But now I don't mind that much anymore. So, and now I had my dream, and he had his weird dream, and his weirdest dream by comparison to his previous dreams, which we'll be getting to in a moment.
But in your last dream, you also lost the kids. That's interesting.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I didn't like. It's not like in this dream. It was a little bit different though, because while I knew that there were many kids among which I lost the kids, and I just wasn't sure where they are because there were kids all over the place. Yeah, I had a dream that there's something about the kids, so maybe that has something to do with my dream, that my subconscious is trying to tell me to take more responsibility for the kids, like to develop that sort of female energy, or that in that respect, the nourishing, caring kind. To stop yelling at them, who's in charge? Maybe I just have to yell at them that I love them. I love you, do your shoelaces, or
try this one.
I do. I have to de-traumatize them and re-traumatize them in a different way. Maybe. But it's annoying because, Raveca and I we've been discussing our dreams for a while now, and this whole you're asleep in your dream and you can't wake up, and you try to wake up from your dream because there's this sense of urgency that one should wake up, and in your dream you just can't keep your eyes open, like you feel like you're so sleepy you literally can't stand up straight, and if someone sees you they would figure out that something's wrong in some respect, or like that something's wrong with you, that you're not fully awake or fully responsible, fully competent, or fully in your mental faculties or something like that. So, both me and Raveca have been having these sort of dreams, with elements of these have been popping up in our dreams. But I had a previous one, this one's a recurrent element as well, but it went away for a little while and now it's come back. This sense of we can't move properly, like you try to run and you just can't reach it, or you run but it seems to be in slow motion. In my case, it's always a left leg that I can't move properly, that I can feel it weighing me down, and I can feel like I'm limping, and I can feel that something's definitely wrong, that I should be able to move quicker, and that someone will notice. If I walk on the street, someone will maybe kind of have the impression that that I have some kind of disability. So, what was it? Was it the Hydra? If you look into her eyes, no. Medusa. Like mythologically, the Medusa, whose eyes you look into, and when you face her, she turns you to stone. So we, at some point, came to the conclusion that the inability to move, to be petrified, to be stagnant, is the equivalent of death. Like the progression itself is equivalent to continuing being alive. That was very consistent with what I call the algorithm. No, it's just a 5-step. It's a 5/6 step sort of process of conflict resolution. I'm not the one who invented it, and I'm not the one who spelled it out first. It's just that because you see it all over the place in psychology and stuff like that. Do you know what's interesting? I showed Chris the algorithm, and he said it's the process of learning. And I never thought about it in that way, but now that the more I think about it, the more it makes sense as well, because you need to integrate a new piece of information to take yourself out of stagnation and process and carry yourself forward. We're going to talk about the algorithm at a later date, I think, because now I kind of want to keep it to dreams, but this can't move, this can't be awake seem to be equivalent though as well. It's an ability to move, to be petrified, seems to be the same thing as the inability to wake up and to realize something, to figure out that missing piece of information that kind of allows you to make you take further action. I'm not sure, so that's something to look into. But back to the kids. We were saying in our first podcast episode that we've been blessed with the opportunity to actually have two twins in the house. And that, we didn't have to kill all the Jews to get to them, and we have not, to my knowledge, and if you ask me, ever tortured them to get the information that we needed to get. They have offered it with their own accord, and they're quite happy to relate their dreams and to discuss them now, because the process has kind of been so encouraging that now they willingly come up and are like, Olivia, can we talk about my dream? I dreamed this and that. And the boy had a series of dreams where he would be faced with a many-headed dog. So we obviously have the Cerberus motive there. But we also have the Sphinx motive, because apparently the dog would ask him questions related to himself. So, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you love this person? Do you love that person? Do you love him? And as he would kind of process through these questions and attempt to give genuine answers, the ones that he felt were truthful, he realized a few things along the way. So he realized that, first of all, he had the misconception of what it meant to love someone. He thought that meant that you absolutely must be nice to them and they absolutely must be nice to you, which, I yell at him most of the time and I make him cry. But he still realized he loved me, so I think that from then on he dissociated those two things, and that allowed him to look further into the issue. And so the many-headed dogs, the first dog was black, it had 3 heads, and it asked I don't remember what question it had. He asked him who he loved, his mom, his dad, his sister, I don't remember exactly. But as he kind of, one thing that kind of set him on, because he was terrified of that dream. This was a few months ago. The second episode when he totally went batshit crazy was with the purple dog. When he had that dream, he woke up, he was absolutely terrified, and we talked about that dream for a while, and then, I told him that he could just try answering truthfully, and when he did, the dog opened its mouth and let him in, allowed him to go in, and when he went into, I never asked which mouth he went into, something. When he went into the dog's mouth, he got a memory of his sister and his mother from when they were quite young, and from an age that it would have been improbable for him to actually be able to hold memories, but he did, because and we know we've managed to trace the memory because there was a photo shoot that took place on that day, and they were about 2 years old, if not younger. So that was quite interesting to have access to that sort of information that would probably have been buried quite suddenly, safely, deeply into his subconscious. And then a few months, like weeks, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, he had this dream again. But the thing is, with the boy, he manages to, so he has a dream, and he can go and have the same dream all over again the following night. And that's brilliant, because he can go and he can take the narrative further. Kind of a week ago, he had this was really weird. He had this dream. He was absolutely, he woke up and he was absolutely terrified, and he was just panicking all over. He tried to get me. I told him I thought he needed to pee, but that didn't work. So, and then I was like, fine, I'll get out of bed and calm him down. When I tried, it didn't work. Like I put him into bed, he got back up, he was throwing himself all over the pillows, and he was amazingly agitated. So we woke his sister up, and he dashed out of the room to go and look for his mom, and his mom managed to calm him down eventually, but I couldn't. But because his sister had woken up, he saw him, and she looked at me, and she's like with that sort of face, like, what just happened? What's wrong? And I said, oh, it's fine. He probably just had a bad dream. I'm not particularly worried. And then he kind of went up the stairs, so I followed him to explain to his parents what happened. And his mom saw it, and I'm like, I think he had a bad dream. I'm not sure what. Like, I tried to put it, didn't work. Like, I tried my best. But when I came back because I'm sharing the room with a girl, when I came back to go to bed, found the girl, she went into this state, and she's had this episodes quite a few times and like throughout her life, where her teeth are clattering, her entire body's shaking, her hair is all over her face. She basically looks like she crept out of the TV in The Ring, and it's scary, like it's terrifying when you see it. When the first time I saw her like that, man, she freaked the shit out of me. She comes and rattles doors. And anyway, when I got back to the room, like before, she had been perfectly fine. She had been awake, like within, rationally awake. She saw her brother, and she went into this state, and she told me, this is the first time she's ever spoken to me from that state. She said she doesn't know what's happening. And then I asked her about it in the morning, because usually in the morning she doesn't remember these episodes. I asked her, I was like, hey, do you remember anything, girl? Do you remember anything from last night? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, that's consistent with what I know. And then I went to ask the boy if he remembers something, and he said yes, he remembers the whole thing. So that was like, I find that very interesting, because you would assume that he was the one who was kind of in a dream state and went through this entire thing and couldn't control his reactions. She had actually woken up, but she couldn't remember anything he could. And that was really interesting. So apparently this dream that he had was of a 15-headed yellow something. I think it was a whippet dog, which is kind of like a greyhound but smaller. And it's somewhere there, but I don't really need the notebook anymore. I did write down all the elements. So obviously we got deeper into the details of what the dogs mean. So apparently, dogs symbolize what we know them to symbolize as like man's best friend, like a loyal, trustworthy individual who you can rely on, blah, blah, blah. And he had a boxer at some point as well, so I looked at the breeds, and they grew, they became more aggressive, and I told him I think it was because his inner conflict is very pressing, and he has to face them. There's no point in being afraid, because this is it. He has to face this fear to get the piece of information that he needs and sort of move on with this process of self-discovery. So the dogs evolved. But they represented more positive things. Like the black dog generally represents death, rebirth, so the process of change and transformation. Yellow represents, it's still, you're weary of it, but it could represent very positive things as well, like, happiness, calmness, or something, someone you feel like at ease with. The breeds became more trustworthy as well. We had the boxer, and that was like a very, either a royalty or a wealthy person, like because it was purple. I say royalty because it was purple. Or a wealthy person, or a very knowledgeable person. So I think, and that's when I figured out that I am the stuff that dreams are made of. because apparently the dog, I hazarded a guess, and I said, do you think the dogs are me? Because recently I started pushing him a lot into interacting with subconscious, because the subconscious tells him how he actually feels about things in waking life as well, and it's basically a big massive database of information he can't access in his waking life. So he said that, yeah, it made sense, but not only, when I told him this theory, the girl was there as well, and she just instinctively just kind of like dipped up, and she's like, that's actually a really good guess, Olivia. I was like, well, thank you. I'm good at this. It's like a therapist extraordinaire, whatever. So he said yes. He said that that's kind of consistent with what he thought. And then I think after the purple dog came either orange or green. Orange was quite like, it really represented really positive, very positive emotions like optimism, jollity, and happiness, and flamboyant fun, you know, togetherness and stuff like that. I haven't checked the green dog yet, but I don't think it's that relevant as of yet, because it was apparently his last dog, and as he went through these dreams, we would discuss the questions that he was being asked by the dog, and they were really kind of questions related to himself, and that generate self-inquiry, and that then offer self-knowledge. And it was like, do you like bullies? Do you like eggs? Do you like dogs? Do you like your mom? Do you like your dad? Do you like Olivia? Do you like your sister? Do you like... And then because he would come to me and ask me what I thought the answer was, and he would tell me what he thinks the answer is, and I would tell him, I would try to clarify the areas where I thought he made unstable connections, like they weren't unwarranted, Because he was always told, for instance, to protect his sister, and he assumed that meant always, make sure she's happy. And because of that, he always assumed that he has to give her his things if that's what she wants, and give her his money if that's what she wants, and just do what she likes because that's what she wants, and therefore she'll be happy, and therefore he'll have done his job. Which wasn't the case, and she, the girl always kind of took advantage of that, the cunning little fox. Well, we're fixing that. We're fixing that. So, as I was clarifying things like these, I was suggesting potential answers to these issues. And the green dog apparently was the last dog. And it had to do, the questions became, kind of, according to what we were talking about in day-to-day life, the questions would kind of maybe revolve around that. And he said the green dog was the last dog, and that next it would be trees. And I think that has to do with the dream that the girl had at some point, because she said she dreamt that she was climbing a thin, tall tree, and that it was very easy for her to do. And though that dream happened around the period when I kept telling her that, she should stop kissing people's butts and suck up to people just to get things, and stop manipulating her brother, and, understand the value of her things and work to get them, and blah blah blah. So I've been kind of hard on her, and I told her, I said, let me hazard a guess. I bet that climbing a tree means kind of developing moral integrity and becoming a better person, becoming more complex and more mature. And then I Googled it, and it turned out that was pretty much it. It was very indicative of that. And the fact that she was climbing it with ease meant that, subconsciously she believed that that would be easy for her, even though,